Hi, 3 and 4-year-old leaders. We are preparing for January 6th. We're starting a new series called God Can Do Anything. And in this series, we want for kids to know that God had a plan from the very beginning. We've talked about the very beginning, from the very beginning, that He's going to continue to bring through the generations. We're going to look at Joseph. We're going to look at the beginning of Moses' life and how God was working out the details for all of these people to be exactly where they were supposed to be at the right time, and that God was doing all of that work. So this week, we're going to start with Joseph. And one of the things that I realized, silly me, as I was studying for this, is I never put all of this together, that Joseph is Rachel's firstborn son. I don't know if you guys knew that a long time, so just bear with me. But when all of that happened, my brain kind of exploded, and I'm like, oh God, now I get exactly why he was favored. I get exactly why he was treated the way he was treated. I get exactly why his brothers hated him so much, because they had just as much of Jacob as Joseph had, but Rachel was the woman that Jacob loved. And because of that, Joseph being born to Rachel was one of those big moments, I'm sure, in Jacob's life. One of the reasons that I feel like this helps me is because so many of our kids are living in the exact same situation. They have a different family situations, and they realize what it is to be favored, or they realize what it is to love somebody else potentially, or not be loved because that person is not in their life all of the time. And so God had a plan, even in the middle of all the silly stuff that happened to Jacob. God had a plan, and God was going to keep using His promise to make sure that there was a way made for Jesus to come, even in all of the mess. So Joseph had to be sold into slavery because God needed him to be in the seat he was going to be in. And so it's just all exciting to me when I finally understood the reason that Joseph was favored. Oh, in your lesson today, your social activity is Duck, Duck, Goose. And you could play it where you change the words to it. The way it was written initially was that you say more, most, because Joseph had to separate the grains, as we'll learn about next week. But you could also just play plain old Duck, Duck, Goose, and I'm sure that your kiddos will love that. And then you will have your story time. Your big picture question is there anything God cannot do? And God can do all things according to His plan and His purpose. And He will make all things happen according to His plan and His purpose. And that's, if you have a few that are making those questions, asking those questions, why didn't God do this? And why didn't God do this? Well, the thing we need to understand is God can do anything and will do most things, but if it doesn't line up with His plan, it's not going to play out probably the way that we want it to. God's picture is so much bigger than our picture. All right, so your activity today is just a little reminder for the kiddos of what Joseph's dream was. So what you're going to do is take about 3 or 4 of these brown pipe cleaners and gather them together for kids. And then what I would do, feel free to do it whatever you think is better for little hands. I'd go ahead and take these and bend them in half, because then it looks like it's a bigger thing of grain, and then tie it in the middle with your string that you have in there. And I know this is probably a little bit challenging for kids to do on their own, but it also doesn't hurt for it to take a little bit longer while they try to figure out how to tie it. And then maybe your teen helper can come around and get it tied really good for them so they can take it home. It really is just supposed to be a reminder of what Joseph's dream was and how that made his brothers feel when he had a dream that he would be ruling over his brothers. All right, and then you have your memory verse. And I don't know if you've noticed in your folder, this is also on your bulletin boards, and I don't know if it's in the video, but you have a poster right here that has the memory verse on it. So if it helps you during your small group time to have it with you, you will have it with your small group notes. The page that's on the back side of this is memory verse. On the page on the back side, this is your big picture question. Now, I realize that our kids can't read, but if it helps you to make a point by showing them what it is, you have that in your packet as well. All right, so your memory verse, and bear with me, I know I make up silly hand motions, but I'm just trying to help simplify things for you and make it easier for you. So what you'll do is, but I have been the Lord your God, point to God, ever since you came out of Egypt. You're gonna act like you're riding on a horse. I don't know if they rode horses, but it's kind of fun to think that maybe they rode horses so they could get out of Egypt. All right, and if you've been to Egypt, you would totally understand. I have been there, and it's probably not a place I want to go back to. It was dirty, and the people were not nice, and there is an oppression there. And so I definitely, when I was there in the Mount Sinai area, I could understand why the Jews did not want to be there. It's just a big desert, lots of sand and lots of rocks. All right, so you shall acknowledge, point to your head like you're thinking, no God but me, no Savior but me. And I don't know if you know the sign for Jesus, but I'm going to teach it to you really quick. You're going to take your hands like this and your middle fingers, and you're going to point to the middle of your hand like you're pointing to the nails that were in Jesus's hand. Remember, Jesus is our Savior. So we're going to sign Jesus, no Savior except me, Hosea 13:4. And then you can pray and dismiss your kiddos. Thank you so much for leading 3- and 4-year-olds. They are a bundle of energy most weeks, and you guys do such a fantastic job of loving on them, helping them learn a little bit more about Jesus while they're learning and growing, and then also just helping connect with their family members that come and pick them up or drop them off. I want to put this bug in your ear. The end of the month, on the January 27th, we're going to have a leader meeting, and I want everybody to make a big point to try to be there for that leader meeting. We will provide you lunch for free, and it's the best lunch around. Vita cooks an amazing meal for us every time, and I guarantee you don't want to miss the food that she makes for us. We will have activities for your kids to do while we have our adult time. And then we're going to play some games and go over some of our policies and procedures. And so the way we're going to do that is through a game, so you don't want to miss that. And then the big to do at this meeting is we'll even have some prizes. We want to make sure that all of us are doing everything we can to keep kids safe and provide a safe, welcoming environment. And I know you guys do everything you do with that in mind, but there's a few things we need to go over just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So let me know you're coming. Tell me how many are coming so we can make sure to prepare enough food for you. Have a great week, and thank you so much for leading.